Do you enjoy adventure games such as Shadowgate, Deja Vu, or The Uninvited? If so, then stay tuned as we take a look at From Beyond Prologue, a fan-made spiritual successor to the MacVenture Series that's available right now on Steam. Find out all about it on this edition of Friday Night Arcade. From Beyond Prologue was developed by Suckerfree Games and just released today, like right now on Steam. You take control of a professor in the early 1900s on an expedition into the mountains of Europe, searching for a long-lost village that's shrouded in myths and rumors. It's got something of an Indiana Jones meets Shadowgate vibe to it, exploring this creepy village and trying to figure out what happened to everybody there. Right away, this setup should look familiar to fans of the MacVenture series. If you've never played one of these games before, here's a quick breakdown. In the upper left is what your character can actually see from a first-person perspective. The upper right pane is everything you're carrying in your inventory. On the bottom is a series of commands such as look or use, and in the lower left is a navigation pane which is helpful to point out usable exits in whatever room or area you're in. This is handy in case you need to go back the way you came, as you can't technically turn your character to face the opposite direction. The view screen is always static. You control the on-screen cursor, and the gameplay consists of using the on-screen commands to interact with what you see in the view screen, moving from one area to the other, picking up items, possibly combining items with other items, and or using said items on other things you may encounter throughout the game. This may seem a bit archaic by today's standards, but as the game's Steam description points out, these are 8-bit NES era graphics and sound. Kids, this is how your dad played adventure games in the 80s, and this game definitely channels that MacVenture groove. At its core, the gameplay of these MacVenture style games may seem a bit mundane, but what makes it all work is the story and the environments. Your reward for solving the puzzles of a given area is that you get to open up another area and possibly find out more about the story or see something new and potentially crazy along the way. I loved playing these kind of games as a kid since it gave you something of a computer adventure game experience, but right on your home console. And for much cheaper, since most computers cost as much as a car back in the 80s. And hey, since this game is actually on computer, you can use the mouse to control the cursor instead of an NES controller, which is super nifty. As for this game, well, what can you say? It looks and smells like a MacVenture game. I always wished ICOM Simulations would have made more of these games. I could have played through one every year if they would have made one. I still pop in Shadowgate or some of those other games from time to time hoping to find something new, but in reality, once you beat a game like this, there really isn't much else to do except maybe see if you can find some more ways to die, or maybe some more in-game lore to find and read about. So getting a chance to have a fresh new MacVenture experience in 2018 was kinda exhilarating. And since the game is so new, there are no online walkthroughs. It's up to you to just take notes, do some trial and error, and perhaps even make your own map so you don't get lost. I may have a problem. This game also channels all of that glorious inventory management, experimentation tedium that is adventure gaming. For example, some of the puzzles are pretty straightforward. Take here for instance, you try to climb this rope to get to the top of the watchtower only to have the rope snap. Okay, now you can't reach the rope, but there's a nearby barrel you can move over and use to reach the climbable portion of the rope that's too high to get to otherwise. Okay, simple adventure gaming here, not too bad. You climb the rope and get to the top of the watchtower only to find a door in the floor that leads to the tower. Can you open up the door? Nope, it's frozen solid. Cut the door open with the knife or the hatchet? Nope. Ah, but there's an empty fire pit sitting there. I wonder what that could be. Can we start a fire in it? I know I saw lots of brush back in the woods. Maybe I could find some kindling? Okay, so in this area, there's thick brush blocking your way. Use the hatchet to cut down the brush and whoa, holy crap, there's a cave there. But no time for that now. Can you take the loose sticks on the ground? Nope. First, you gotta use the rope from your field pack to bind the sticks into a small bundle. Now take the bundle to the top of the tower and put them in the fire pit. Now can you light the fire pit? Nope. The sticks are still too damp to burn. Ah, but I have this flask of highly flammable vodka in my inventory. Could I use that? Use the flask of booze on the bundle of sticks and set it ablaze and boom, well, wait, the door still won't open. You'll have to eventually find a sword to pry open the door, and I'm going to leave you to figure that out. But yeah, that's MacVenture Gaming in a nutshell. If that sort of thing sounds like your jam, then you may want to dig into this one. A couple of technical things to get out of the way here. The Steam description says the game requires Windows 10. However, I was able to get this running on a Windows 7 machine that I don't ever want to update because it will probably break all of my video editing software. Yeah, deal with it, Microsoft. You're just lucky I'm still not using XP. Also, this game has a few less commands than the NES MacVenture games you may be used to. Missing are commands such as hit, close, or drop. And that's another thing to watch out for. Pro tip, in this game, once you use an item, it most likely will vanish from your inventory. If you're from the Shadowgate era, you may be used to having to find a place such as the acid fountain to drop all of your unnecessary items and to clear out some of that inventory clutter. On the one hand, it's nice not having to worry about decluttering your inventory throughout the game, but on the other hand, I got nervous at first, not knowing the items were going to vanish after use, and thought I glitched something out that caused the items to get deleted from my inventory. After speaking with the developer about this, he mentioned he may alter that slightly for the final release, but in general, that's just something to keep in mind. I'll confess, I'm probably an overthinker when it comes to games like these, and probably try to reuse items more often than any normal person would. So, I do have to say I enjoyed playing through this one. The graphics and sound definitely invoke that 8-bit NES charm. The musical tracks aren't necessarily as memorable as some of the tracks from Shadowgate, but that's a tall order for anyone to match. They're perfectly fine for wandering around this little world Suckerfree Games has created. There are plenty of spooky elements that you come across along the way as well, and with the restrictions of being on the actual NES console being lifted, they managed to get in some pretty gruesome imagery. A few grotesque deaths, bloody corpses, even literally skeletons in the closet. All of this seen through the admirable lens of those chunky 8-bit graphics. This will definitely take you back to the adventure gaming of yesteryear. I also enjoyed the setting of the woods and exploring this old village. In Shadowgate, the game starts you off in front of the castle with a dense forest behind you. You can never turn around and just go the opposite direction, as the game's main quest obviously lies inside the castle. So I feel like this game is probably what would have happened if you could have turned around and just left Castle Shadowgate, adventuring off into the woods to see what's going on out there. There are also multiple ways to solve some puzzles, nothing necessarily game-breaking, but you may want to go back and try something else just to make sure that you see all of the story. It's not a super long game by any means, but there is enough to keep you guessing for several hours depending on your previous level of expertise with this type of game, and the story is compelling enough to keep you going. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Suckerfree Games for lending me an advanced copy of the game to preview, and full disclosure, I'm not being paid to do this review, nor will I receive any sort of compensation if you choose to buy it. It's just an interesting new game in the spirit of the MacVenture series that I legitimately thought a typical Friday night arcade viewer may be interested in. If you enjoyed games like Shadowgate, definitely give this one a look. It's out now for a couple bucks on Steam, and you could do way worse for that price. What do you think? Will you check this one out? What are some other games done in the vein of MacVenture that you've played in the past? As always, thank you for watching and for all of your support. Please don't text and drive, and I'll see you next time on Friday Night Arcade.